She stood in front of everyone, smiling as if she were about to hand me the most beautiful gift in the world. She had the projector remote in her hand, and that sparkle in her eyes that I knew all too well. That specific sparkle that appeared right before she stabbed me in the back. The screen lit up behind her. White, enormous, waiting. All the guests turned their chairs toward the front. My son Michael squeezed my shoulder affectionately, knowing nothing. And Tiffany, my daughter-in-law, my dear and adored daughter-in-law, opened her mouth to announce the surprise she had prepared for my 65th birthday. But something went wrong, something she did not expect, because when the first images appeared on that screen, I was not the one who went pale, it was her. Let me tell you how I got to that moment, how a 65-year-old woman, a widow, a hard worker who spent her entire life trying to keep the peace in her family, ended up standing in front of a living room full of people watching her daughter-in-law fall apart in public. Because this did not start that night. It started almost 8 years ago, the day Michael introduced me to Tiffany for the first time. I remember she was wearing a mint green dress, tight, elegant, high heels, perfect makeup. She extended her hand with a smile that showed all her teeth and said she was delighted to finally meet the woman who had raised such a wonderful man. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I had just lost my husband barely a year and a half prior, and the idea of my only son finding love filled me with hope. I thought that maybe Tiffany would be the daughter I never had, that we could be friends, confidantes, real family. How naive I was. The first few months were perfect. Tiffany visited me, brought desserts, asked me about my day. When Michael announced they were getting married, I cried tears of happiness. At the wedding, I danced with my son and told him I was proud of him, that he had found an incredible woman. He hugged me tight and whispered in my ear that I would always be the most important woman in his life. Tiffany watched us from the head table and blew us a kiss. I blew one back. I thought everything would be beautiful forever. But things changed after the honeymoon. Subtly, so slowly that at first, I thought I was imagining it. Tiffany started coming to my house and looking around with a strange expression. She would touch the furniture as if she were appraising it. One afternoon, while we were having coffee, she pointed to the living room sofa and said it was very old, that it looked tired, that I deserved something better. I told her that I had bought that sofa with my husband 20 years ago, and that every mark, every worn spot, reminded me of him. She smiled and said she understood, but that holding on so tight to the past was not healthy, that I had to learn to let go. Let go. That became her favorite phrase. When Leo, my grandson, was born, I thought everything would get better. I went to the hospital with flowers and a huge teddy bear. I held that baby and felt my heart fill with life again. But Tiffany had rules. I could not visit him without notifying her 2 days in advance. I could not hold the boy if she was not present. I could not give advice on parenting because times had changed, and I was outdated. Michael told me to understand that Tiffany was a first-time mom and was nervous. To give her time, I gave her time. I gave her years. And with every year that passed, the little cruelties became more frequent. Tiffany started making comments about my clothes when we went out together. She said I looked tired, that maybe I should rest more, that at my age it was important to take care of myself. Once, in front of Michael's friends, she said she was worried because I had forgotten where I left my keys twice that week. Everyone laughed uncomfortably. I had not forgotten any keys. But no one believed me when I clarified it. Tiffany had already planted the seed. And my son, my dear Michael, every time I tried to talk to him, he told me the same thing. Mom, you are exaggerating. Tiffany adores you. She is just worried about you. It is her way of showing she cares. You have to understand her. She comes from a different family background. It is her way of expressing affection. And I stayed silent, because I did not want to be the problematic mother-in-law. I did not want to be the one causing conflicts in my son's marriage. I did not want Michael to have to choose between his wife and his mother, so I endured. I endured when Tiffany suggested I sell my house because it was too big for me alone, and the maintenance was going to exhaust me. I endured when she started bringing Leo over less and less to visit me, saying the boy had a lot of activities, and there was no time. I endured when at family gatherings I sat in the corner, and she shined in the center, telling anecdotes where I always ended up looking like the clueless little old lady and she like the patient and understanding daughter-in-law. But there was a moment when something changed inside me. It was 3 months ago. I was at the grocery store buying things for the week when I saw Susan, my neighbor and friend of 30 years. We started talking in the produce aisle, and she asked me how I was. I told her I was fine, as always. But Susan knows me too well. She looked me in the eyes and told me not to lie to her, that I looked dim, that she had not seen me truly smile in months. And then, right there, between the lettuce and the tomatoes, I broke. I told her everything, every poisoned comment, every humiliation disguised as concern, every time Michael had asked me to understand instead of defending me. Susan hugged me and told me something I will never forget. She told me that people like Tiffany do not change, that as long as I kept allowing it, she would keep doing it, and that maybe it was time to stop being the good mother-in-law and start being the woman who respects herself. That night I could not sleep. Susan's words resonated in my head over and over again. And then came the call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. Michael. My heart always did a little jump when I saw his name on the screen, as if he were still that 8-year-old boy coming home from school to tell me about his day. I answered with a smile. "Hello, my love." But the voice I heard on the other side was not my son's. It was Tiffany. "Barbara, I need to talk to you about something important." Her tone was sweet, almost syrupy, too sweet. I asked her if everything was okay, if Michael was okay, if Leo was okay. She let out a soft little laugh and told me everyone was perfect, not to worry so much, that was exactly part of what she wanted to talk to me about. We agreed to meet the next day at a coffee shop near my house. I arrived 15 minutes early. I ordered a tea and sat by the window, watching people pass by, trying to calm the nerves I felt in my stomach. Something was not right. I knew it. When Tiffany walked in, she looked radiant. She was wearing an impeccable beige suit, her hair pulled back in a perfect bun, huge sunglasses that she took off with a dramatic gesture. She greeted me with 2 kisses on the cheeks and sat in front of me as if we were about to have the most wonderful conversation in the world. "Barbara," she started, taking my hands between hers, "I have been thinking a lot about you lately, about how you live alone in that big house, about how I see you getting more and more tired, about how sometimes you forget small things. And I worry so much." I tried to withdraw my hands, but she squeezed them tighter. "Michael and I have been talking," she continued, "and we believe the time has come to consider some options for you. For your well-being." I felt a chill run down my spine. I asked her what options she was referring to exactly. Tiffany sighed, as if it pained her to have to say what was coming next. "Look, I know it is difficult to accept, but you are 65 years old. You live alone. If something happened to you, if you fell, if you felt sick in the middle of the night, no one would be there to help you. We have researched some very nice assisted living facilities, very comfortable, where there are people your age, activities, nurses available 24 hours a day, places where you could be safe and well taken care of." I looked at her in silence. Facilities. She was talking about nursing homes. She was talking about getting me out of my house, out of the house where I raised my son, out of the house where my husband died in my arms, out of the house that was the only thing I had left of a whole life built with love and sacrifice. I told her no, that I was perfectly fine, that I did not need any facility, that my house was my house and I was going to stay there. Tiffany pursed her lips. That sweet smile began to crack. "Barbara, do not be difficult. This is for your own good. Michael agrees with me. In fact, it was his idea too." I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. "Michael, my son, he agreed with this." I told her I wanted to talk to him personally. Tiffany took out her phone and dialed. She put it on speaker. "Mom," I heard Michael's voice on the other end. "Tiffany told me you guys are talking. Please, understand that we only want the best for you. The house is very big, the maintenance tires you out, and we live far away. We cannot be checking that you are okay all the time. These facilities are very good. Mom, there is one that has beautiful gardens, yoga classes, cultural activities. You could make friends. You could be at peace." Peace. As if being in my own home caused me unrest. As if I were a burden they needed to get off their backs. I asked him directly, "Michael, do Do you want me to leave my house? There was a silence, then his voice, softer, more tired. It is not that I want to, Mom. It is just that I think it would be better for you, for everyone. Tiffany was looking at me with that smile back on her face. She had won. Oh, that is what she thought. I hung up the phone. I told Tiffany I would think about it. She seemed satisfied. She gave me a kiss on the cheek, told me she knew I would make the right decision, and left, leaving a $20 bill on the table to pay for the coffees. As if with that she could buy my dignity too. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling like the world was falling on top of me. I walked aimlessly for an hour. I cried on a bench in the park where I used to take Michael when he was a boy. And then I took out my phone and called Susan. I need your help, I told her. And she, without asking a single question, told me to come to her house immediately. That night, sitting in her kitchen with 2 cups of steaming tea in front of us, I told her everything. Susan listened in silence, nodding occasionally, squeezing my hand when the tears came out again. When I finished, she stayed quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at me intently. Barbara, she said, that woman wants you out of your house. And it is not because she is worried about you. It is because she wants your house. I did not understand. Susan sighed. Think about it. A 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood, well located, completely paid off. If you go to a nursing home, who do you think is going to keep that property? Michael is your only heir. And who do you think is going to convince him to sell or remodel or do whatever she wants with that place? Tiffany. The pieces began to fit in my mind like a macabre puzzle, Susan continued. And let me tell you something else. 2 weeks ago, I saw Tiffany taking photos of your house from the outside. I thought it was weird, but I did not give it importance. A few days ago, I saw her again, but this time she was with a man who was carrying a folder. They seemed to be evaluating something. I did not want to say anything to you because I thought maybe I was exaggerating, but now everything makes sense. I felt the rage begin to boil in my veins. A cold, calculated rage, different from anything I had felt before. I asked Susan what I could do. She smiled, a smile I had not seen on her in years. A smile that reminded me why we had been friends for 3 decades. We are going to find out exactly what she is planning, she told me, and we are going to make sure she regrets messing with you. The next few days were strange. I followed my normal routine. I greeted Tiffany when she called. I told Michael I was thinking about the options, but inside, I was completely alert. Susan became my secret ally. She began to watch, to observe, to note every strange movement. And then came the call that confirmed everything. It was a Friday night. Susan knocked on my door almost out of breath. You have to see this, she told me, entering my living room like a whirlwind. She opened her phone and showed me a screenshot. It was an advertisement on an online sales page. I recognized the furniture in the photo immediately. They were mine. My hands shook as I held Susan's phone. There it was. The oak dining table my husband had restored with his own hands. The chairs we had bought together at an antique market during our 20th anniversary. The carved sideboard that had belonged to my mother. Everything. Absolutely everything was for sale. And the seller's name was Tiffany Castle. My daughter-in-law was selling my furniture, the furniture that was still in my house, the furniture I used every day. The asking price for the whole lot was $3,500. $3,500 for the memories of my entire life, for the pieces that had seen my son grow up, for the things my husband had touched with love. I felt the room spinning. Susan grabbed my arm and made me sit down. Breathe. Barbara, breathe. This is good. Now we know exactly who she is. I asked her how she had found that. Susan explained that she had been searching on sales pages using words related to antiques and furniture in the area. And suddenly, there they were, my things. With photos taken from angles that could only have been captured from inside my house. Photos Tiffany had taken during her visits. While she smiled at me. While she asked me how I was. While she pretended to care about me. But there was something else. Susan scrolled down the screen and showed me the description of the ad. It said the furniture was available for immediate delivery, starting the 2nd week of October. Exactly 2 weeks after my birthday. Tiffany had already planned everything. She already had a date. She was already counting on me not being in my house by then. We saved the screenshots, all of them, every detail, every photo, every word of that post. And then Susan looked at me with that expression I had learned to recognize. She had a plan. "Barbara," she said, "I need you to trust me. I need you to do exactly what I am going to tell you. And above all, I need you to keep acting as if you know nothing." The following days were the hardest of my life, having to see Tiffany, having to listen to her talk about the wonderful facilities she had visited for me, having to pretend I was considering it seriously while she described the spacious rooms, the manicured gardens, the attentive nurses, smiling when the only thing I wanted was to scream at her that I knew exactly what she was doing, that I knew she was already selling my things before I had even left my house. But Susan was right. If Tiffany suspected we knew something, she would change her plans. And we needed her to move forward. We needed her to get confident, to believe she had won. Michael called me every 2 days. "Mom, have you thought about what we talked about?" "Mom," Tiffany says, "she found a very nice place. Mom, it would be good if you went to see it." And I told him yes, that I would go, that I just needed a little more time. I could hear the relief in his voice every time I gave in a little more. My own son was relieved to get rid of me. One afternoon, Tiffany arrived at my house unannounced, something I supposedly could not do with her, but she constantly allowed herself to do with me. She brought a huge folder full of brochures. She sat on my sofa, the one she had criticized so many times, and began to show me options. "This one has painting classes. This one has a movie theater on weekends. This one has family visits on Sundays from 2 to 5 in the afternoon." As if I were a pet that needed visiting hours to see my own family. I offered her coffee. While I was preparing it in the kitchen, I heard her walking around the house, opening drawers, checking closets. When I returned with the cups, she was standing in front of the bookshelf, touching the picture frames with photos of Michael as a child. "These are going to look beautiful in our living room," she said, as if they were already hers, as if my house were already hers, as if I were already dead. I asked her what she meant. Tiffany turned around with that smile I already knew so well. "Oh, Barbara, do not play dumb. When you move, obviously you are not going to be able to take everything. The facilities have limited space, only what is necessary. Michael and I can keep the things that have sentimental value, so they stay in the family. So Leo knows them." I told her that was very considerate of her. She seemed satisfied. She drank her coffee and kept talking about gardens and recreational activities as if nothing happened. That night, when she left, I sat on the same sofa where she had been and cried. I cried for my son who did not see me. I cried for the years I had lost, trying to please someone who had never respected me. I cried for the naivety of having believed that love and patience would fix everything. But when I finished crying, I dried my tears. I took out my phone and texted Susan. "I am ready. Let's do this." Susan arrived at my house early the next day. She brought with her nephew Kevin, a guy in his 30s who worked in technology. I liked Kevin immediately. He had that quiet kindness of people who really listen. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he looked at me and told me something I will never forget. "Mrs. Barbara, my mom went through something similar with my sister-in-law. She did nothing. She let it happen. And she died sad in a place that was not her home. You are not going to end up like that. I will handle it." Kevin explained the plan. He needed access to Tiffany's phone, just a few minutes. Enough to install an application that would allow him to recover deleted messages, conversations, files, everything she had tried to hide. I told him it was impossible. Tiffany never left her phone unsupervised. Kevin smiled. "That is why we are going to create the opportunity." The plan was simple, but required perfect timing. The next time Tiffany came to my house, I would pretend to feel sick, a dizzy spell, nothing serious, just enough so she would have to help me. And in that moment of distraction, while she attended to me, Kevin would enter through the back door that Susan would leave unlocked, take the phone that Tiffany always left in her purse at the entrance, do what was necessary, and leave. 3 minutes maximum. It sounded crazy. It sounded like a movie. But I was desperate, and desperation makes you capable of things you never imagined. The opportunity came 5 days later. Tiffany called me to tell me she would stop by to drop off more information about a facility she had loved. Perfect. I told her I was waiting for her. I called Susan. I called Kevin. Everyone in position. When Tiffany arrived, she was wearing a mustard yellow dress and cream-colored heels. She looked radiant. I bet she was already imagining redecorating my living room. She entered as always, left her huge purse on the hall table, and walked toward me with arms outstretched. "Barbara, so good to see you. You look better, more rested. I think the idea of the residence is already growing on you." I offered her water. She accepted. We went to the kitchen. And there, just when she started taking the papers out of her folder, I put my hand to my forehead and swayed slightly against the table. Tiffany dropped the papers immediately. "Barbara, what is wrong? Are you okay?" I told her it was just a dizzy spell, that it had been happening to me lately, that maybe she was right and I needed more care. She grabbed my arm and led me to the sofa. "Sit down. Breathe. See why I tell you that you cannot be alone?" While she went to get water from the kitchen, I heard the almost imperceptible sound of the back door. Kevin was inside. My heart was beating so fast I thought Tiffany would hear it. 1, 2, 3. I counted the seconds in my mind. Tiffany returned with the water. "Drink slowly." "How long have you been feeling like this?" I told her a few days. That I had not told Michael so as not to worry him. She nodded understandingly. "This confirms everything, Barbara. You need to be in a place where they take care of you." I kept counting. 40 seconds. 50. 1 minute. Tiffany kept talking. 2 minutes. 2 minutes and a half. And then, as silently as he had entered, I heard the back door close again. Kevin had left. He had done it. I locked the door after Tiffany left and stood in the hallway for several minutes, staring at the exact spot where her purse had been. The purse Kevin had opened, the phone he had touched without her knowing. My heart was still racing, as if I had just run a marathon. My hands were shaking. I poured myself a glass of water and sat in the kitchen waiting for news. Every minute seemed like an hour. Every sound from the street made me jump. I checked my phone 50 times until finally, at 9 o'clock at night, Susan's message arrived. "Come over early tomorrow." Kevin found everything. I did not sleep a wink all night. I lay there staring at the ceiling of my room, the same room where I had slept with my husband for 30 years, wondering what the hell I was about to discover. At 6 in the morning, I was already dressed. At 7, I was drinking coffee that I could not get down my throat. At 9 o'clock sharp, I crossed the yard to Susan's house, almost running. She opened the door before I rang the bell. Her face said it all. They had found something terrible. Kevin was sitting in front of his laptop in the dining room. When I entered, he looked up, and his expression was a mix of anger and sadness. "Mrs. Barbara," he said slowly, "what I am going to show you is going to hurt, but you need to see it. All of it." I sat in front of him, feeling my stomach twist. He turned the screen toward me. The first thing I saw were screenshots of WhatsApp conversations between Tiffany and someone saved as Contractor Miller. The messages were from 2 months ago. Tiffany asked how much it would cost to completely remodel a 3-bedroom house, change floors, knock down walls, make a modern American-style open kitchen. The contractor responded with quotes. $35,000 for a complete remodel. $40,000 if they wanted to expand the deck. Tiffany responded with excited emojis. "Perfect. In October we will have access to the property." I felt as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped on me. October. The month of my birthday. The month when supposedly I would already be locked up in some facility while she destroyed the house my husband and I built brick by brick. Kevin swiped to the next conversation. This one was with someone named Danny Designs. Messages about minimalist furniture. Neutral colors. No antiques because they look old and depress the space. Tiffany wrote that she wanted something modern, something that gave status, something that would impress her friends when they came to visit. But that was not the worst. Kevin opened another conversation. This time it was a group chat called Besties. 5 women besides Tiffany. And there I was, the constant subject of their mockery. Message after message of pure cruelty. Today I went to see the mother-in-law. Every day, she is more lost. She asked me 3 times what day it was. "I think the Alzheimer's has already started," Tiffany wrote with a laughing out loud emoji. The friends responded with more laughter. Poor Michael. It must be so hard to deal with that. Another friend wrote, "When is she finally going to the nursing home?" And Tiffany responded, "Soon, my love. I almost have her convinced. The house is going to look spectacular when I remodel it. You guys are going to die of envy when you see the photos." I kept reading even though every word was like a knife. Tiffany recounted in great detail how she manipulated me, how she invented things that supposedly I forgot, how she told Michael that I looked confused when in reality I was perfectly lucid, how she acted worried in front of him so he would believe I needed help. Everything was theater. A play calculated to make me look like a senile old woman who needed to be institutionalized. "There is a message from 3 weeks ago," Kevin said with a tense voice. "You need to read this." He zoomed in on the conversation. Tiffany wrote to one of her friends. "The old hag is resisting, but she is about to fall. Michael is already totally convinced. Only the final push is missing. I am going to organize a birthday party for her, something big with the whole family. And there I am going to show a video I am preparing. When everyone sees how deteriorated she is, no one is going to be able to say anything when we commit her." A video. Tiffany was preparing a video to publicly humiliate me on my own birthday, to expose me in front of my whole family as if I were a sideshow, so that everyone believed I was losing my mind. And Michael, my son, my only son, was already convinced. He had already signed my sentence without even questioning if what Tiffany told him was true. Susan took my hand tightly. I kept looking at the screen, unable to look away. Kevin opened the file folder from Tiffany's phone. There were photographs, dozens of them. Many were of my house from every possible angle. But there were others that froze my blood. Photos of Tiffany with a man who was definitely not my son, in an elegant restaurant, in the entrance of a hotel, kissing next to a sports car. The date on the photos was from 6 months ago. Tiffany was cheating on Michael while accusing me of being the family problem. Kevin enlarged one of the images. The man was young, maybe 30 years old, good-looking with that type of attractiveness that costs money to maintain. In one of the photos, his hand was visible with a watch that probably was worth more than my car. In another, a table with a bottle of wine that easily cost more than $200. Tiffany lived a double life, completely funded while planning to steal my home. But Kevin had not finished yet. He showed me bank statements that Tiffany had saved on her phone, PDF files of the joint account she shared with Michael. Marked in yellow were constant withdrawals that formed a pattern. $500 here, $700 there, $1,200. All the transfers went to an account I did not recognize. I asked Kevin if he could find out whose it was. He nodded, and his fingers flew over the keyboard. While we waited, Susan made coffee that neither of us could drink. The silence was so dense, I could feel it pressing against my chest. I kept looking at those screenshots, unable to process the magnitude of what I was seeing. It was not just that Tiffany wanted my house. She hated me with an intensity I had never imagined, and she had built a complete strategy to annihilate me. Kevin interrupted my thoughts. "The account is Tiffany's, a personal account she opened 2 years ago. Michael does not have access, nor does he know it exists. She has been diverting money in small but constant amounts. The total accumulated so far is $22,000. I asked him how it was possible that Michael did not notice. Kevin explained that the amounts were calculated specifically not to raise alarms. $500 disappearing from an account where thousands enter and leave every month goes completely unnoticed if you know what you are doing. $22,000, the money Michael earned working double shifts, money that should be securing Leo's future. And Tiffany accumulated it in secret, probably to finance the remodeling of my house or her encounters with her lover, or both. Then Susan asked something that hit me like lightning. "Barbara, Michael deposits money to you every month, right? To help you with your expenses." I nodded, feeling a knot form in my throat. Every month without fail, my son transferred me $500. It was his way of taking care of me from a distance. Susan continued with a careful voice. "And you always receive the full $500. I thought about my bank statements. Always the exact same amount. Yes, always $500. Susan and Kevin exchanged a look I did not like at all. Kevin went back to search in the phone files. His fingers moved fast until he found what he was looking for. He showed me messages between Tiffany and Michael. My son wrote, "I already deposited the 500 for Mom like every month." Tiffany responded, "How sweet you are, my love. She must be very grateful to have such an attentive son." But then there was another message in a different conversation. Tiffany writing to her friend Paula, "Michael thinks he gives 500 to the old lady every month. I told him that with age, medical expenses skyrocketed and that she needs 1,000. He gives the money to me so I can transfer it to her. Obviously I keep 500. He does not even check." The world stopped. Tiffany was not only stealing my dignity and my house, she was stealing money from me. Money that my son gave me with love, believing he was helping me. "How long has she been doing this?" I managed to ask with a broken voice. Kevin checked the dates of the oldest messages on the subject. At least 2 years, according to what I find here. I did the mental calculation, even though I did not want to. $500 a month for 24 months. $12,000. Tiffany had stolen $12,000 from me, while making me feel that I was a financial burden to my own family. I stood up so fast the chair almost fell over. I needed to move, or I was going to explode. I went out to Susan's garden, breathing the cold morning air. The sky was loaded with gray clouds. The first drops of rain began to fall, and I let them wet my face, mixing with tears I could no longer contain. Susan appeared at my side and hugged me without saying a single word, because there were no words for this. But while I stood there in the rain, feeling the weight of all the betrayal, something changed deeply inside me. The sadness began to solidify, to transform into something cold and clear and absolutely relentless. Pure determination. I went back inside soaked, but with my mind clearer than ever. Kevin looked at me waiting. "I need copies of absolutely everything." I told him with a voice I did not recognize as mine. Every message, every photograph, every statement, every conversation where that woman talks about me, everything you found and everything you can keep finding. He nodded and started working immediately. Then I turned to Susan. "I need your help with one more thing. I have to discover exactly what is in that video Tiffany plans to show on my birthday." Susan had a cousin who worked in video editing. Her name was Megan, and according to Susan, she was discreet, reliable, and hated manipulative people with all her soul, perfect for what we needed. We called her that same afternoon. Megan arrived at Susan's house 2 hours later with a backpack full of equipment and a serious expression that inspired immediate confidence. We told her everything. Megan listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally. And when we finished, she let out a swear word that made Susan laugh despite the tension. "That woman is a snake," Megan said. "And snakes always leave a trail. We are going to find that video." The problem was that we needed access to Tiffany's computer or her cloud storage. Kevin explained that with the information he already had from the phone, he could try to access her online accounts. "Sounds illegal," I said worriedly. Kevin looked me directly in the eyes. "Mrs. Barbara, technically it is, but that woman is planning to steal your house, your money, and your dignity. You decide how far you want to go." I thought about Michael, about how he had asked me to understand Tiffany over and over again, about how he had chosen to believe her before me. I thought about Leo growing up with a mother who was capable of this. I thought about my empty and remodeled house without a single memory of the life I built there. "Do it," I told Kevin. "Find that video." It took him 3 days. 3 days during which I continued acting normal. Tiffany called me twice to talk about the birthday party she was organizing. She wanted to know my favorite foods. What kind of music did I like? If there was someone special I wanted to invite. Her voice was pure honey, so sweet it made you want to vomit when you knew what was really behind it. I played along. I thanked her for being so considerate. I told her not to trouble herself so much. She insisted. "It is no trouble, Barbara. You are part of my family. You deserve a beautiful celebration." When I hung up, I had to sit down because my hands were shaking with contained rage. On the 3rd day, Kevin called me. "I have it. Come now." I left my house without even locking it. Susan and Megan were already in the living room when I arrived. Kevin's laptop showed a folder full of video files. Tiffany had them saved on her Google Drive with the name Project Birthday Barbara. Kevin opened the first one. It was a compilation of videos of me, snippets cut out of context, that made me look terrible. There was a clip from last Christmas where I asked the time twice in a conversation. Tiffany had edited the questions together, so it looked like I asked them one after another, as if I were confused. There was another video of me looking for my glasses. In reality, I had left them in the kitchen, but Tiffany cut the end where I found them. She only left the part where I asked if anyone had seen them, making me look forgetful. We kept watching. Every clip was worse. Tiffany had recorded completely normal moments and manipulated them to build a narrative of mental deterioration. She had included photos of me from 10 years ago compared to recent photos. Superimposed text that said things like the passage of time is cruel and we all age, but some need help accepting it. But what really destroyed me was the last part of the video. Tiffany had gotten testimonials, people talking about me. I recognized some of the voices. The lady who sells bread on the corner said that sometimes she saw me talking to myself when I walked. What the video did not show was that I always talked on the phone with a hands-free headset. The neighbor across the street said that once he saw me go out in pajamas to pick up the newspaper, something I had done exactly once when I overslept. Tiffany had looked for anyone who could say something remotely negative about me and had included it all without context. The video ended with Tiffany appearing on screen. She was sitting in what looked like a fake doctor's office with a white coat hanging behind her to give credibility. She spoke directly to the camera with a soft and worried voice. "We love Barbara. She is a wonderful woman who gave us Michael, but the time has come for the family to make difficult decisions. Decisions that show true love. That is why we have decided that Barbara needs a place where she can be safe, cared for, surrounded by professionals who understand her needs. This is not abandonment. This is love." The screen faded to black, and the name of a facility appeared with an address and phone number. All planned, all ready. Only showing this video in front of my whole family remained, so that no one could object when they locked me up. Megan was the first to speak. "This is pure defamation. You can sue her for this." But I did not want to sue her. I wanted something better, something more definitive. "Kevin," I asked, "can you edit a video?" He looked at me confused. "Sure, but what for?" I smiled for the first time in days. "Because I am going to give Tiffany exactly what she planned to give me. A surprise at my birthday party." I explained my plan to them. Susan laughed so hard, she had to wipe away tears. Megan applauded. Kevin smiled in that way people have when they know they are about to do something technically incorrect, but morally satisfying. "I need 2 days," he said. 2 days to create the best video of your life. While Kevin worked, I dedicated myself to something else. I called Michael. I needed to know exactly how much he had told Tiffany about giving me money. "Mom, what a surprise!" he answered with genuine joy in his voice. "How are you?" I told him I was fine, that I just wanted to hear his voice. We talked about Leo, about his work, about unimportant things. Then I dropped the question casually. "Son, you deposit $500 to me every month, right?" There was a pause. "Well, Mom, actually it is 1,000. Tiffany explained to me that with your age, medical expenses skyrocketed. Medications, checkups, those things. I give the money to her and she transfers it to you. It is easier that way. You do not get it all?" I felt my chest tighten. My own son confirming that Tiffany was stealing from me and he did not even know it. I told him no, that everything was perfect, that I just wanted to confirm. He seemed relieved. "I am glad Tiffany takes care of you too, Mom. I do not know what we would do without her. I do not know what you will do when you discover who she really is either," I thought. But I just told him I loved him and hung up. 2 days later, Kevin showed me his work. He had created a compilation video with everything we found. Messages from Tiffany speaking ill of me. Screenshots of the ads selling my furniture. Photos of her with her lover. Bank statements showing the money diversions. Audio of conversations where she admitted to be manipulating the situation. And at the end, the original video she had prepared to humiliate me, but with a superimposed note that said all this was a lie. "This is what she planned to show you." It was perfect. It was devastating. It was pure justice. Now, only the right moment was missing. And that moment would be my birthday party. The party Tiffany was organizing so carefully to destroy me. The party where she would be destroyed. The days prior to my birthday were strange. I moved through the house like in a play where I knew the ending, but the other actors did not. Tiffany called me constantly with updates on the party. She had rented a small but elegant hall. She had hired a catering service. She had made personalized invitations. Everything was perfect according to her. Too perfect. One afternoon she appeared at my house unannounced again. She brought decoration samples, lavender and silver balloons, ivory tablecloths, centerpieces with white flowers. All very sober, very adult, very appropriate for someone my age. While she showed me every detail, I nodded and smiled, thinking about how ironic the situation was. She meticulously decorating the stage of her own humiliation. Barbara told me with that honeyed voice that already turned my stomach, "I want this day to be special, to be memorable, something none of us will ever forget." "You are right, Tiffany," I replied, looking her directly in the eyes. "It is going to be absolutely unforgettable." She smiled without catching the double meaning. "Perfect. Then everything is ready. The surprise is going to be incredible." Michael also called me those days. "Mom, I am so happy we are going to celebrate you as you deserve. Tiffany has worked so hard on this. She really loves you a lot." Every word was a knife, but I kept smiling on the other end of the phone. "I know, son, I know. Soon we are going to see exactly how much she loves me." Susan came to my house every night. We sat in the kitchen drinking tea and reviewing the plan over and over again. Kevin had prepared everything technically. He had copied the final video onto 3 USB drives, identical to the one Tiffany would use. The day of the party I would arrive early with the excuse of helping. At some point, while Tiffany was distracted, we would switch her drive for hours. Simple, direct, effective. But I was nervous. What if something goes wrong? I told Susan. What if she checks the video before? What if she realizes the switch? Susan took my hands and reminded me of everything Tiffany had done, everything she had planned to do to me. Barbara told me, "That woman was going to stand you in front of your whole family and destroy your reputation. She was going to lock you in a nursing home to steal your house. She is stealing money from you for years. She is being unfaithful to your son. And you worry if something goes wrong." Let her worry. She was right. I was not the villain of this story. I was just a woman defending herself, a woman who had endured too much for too long, a woman who had finally decided not to continue being a victim. The night before my birthday, I hardly slept. I stayed awake looking at old photos of Michael when he was a boy, my husband holding him, the 3 of us at the beach, Christmases, birthdays, a happy family that no longer existed. Michael had become a man who chose to believe a liar before his own mother, and tomorrow he was going to discover the truth in the most brutal way possible. Part of me felt bad for him, for the pain he was going to experience, for having to see his wife exposed like that. But another part, the part that had grown during these weeks of discoveries, knew it was necessary. Michael needed to wake up. He needed to see. And sometimes the truth hurts before it heals. My birthday dawned. 65 years. I never imagined this would be the most important day of my life. I dressed with care. I chose a pearl gray dress that made me look dignified, elegant, strong. I put on light makeup. I combed my hair with care. I wanted to look good. I wanted that when everything exploded, no one could say I looked deteriorated or confused or any of the lies Tiffany had been spreading. Susan arrived to pick me up at 3 in the afternoon. The party started at 6. But Tiffany had asked me to arrive early to see everything before the guests arrived. Perfect for our plan. In my purse I carried the 3 USB drives. In my chest I carried years of pain converted into determination. The hall was beautiful. I have to admit it. Tiffany had good taste when she was not using it for evil. The tables decorated impeccably, the projector and the huge screen already installed at the front. A special table for me, with a sign that said, "Happy Birthday, Barbara," in gold letters. Everything designed to look like a tribute, when in reality it was a trap. Tiffany appeared radiant in an emerald green dress that fit her perfectly. "Barbara," she shouted, hugging me, "happy birthday. You look beautiful. How do you feel?" Like a woman about to get her life back, I thought. But I just smiled and told her excited. She took me around the whole hall, showing me every detail. "Here will be the drinks. Here the cake I had made especially for you. And here," she pointed to the projector, "here is going to be the special surprise I prepared. A video tribute, something that is going to move you to tears." You are right, Tiffany, I told her. I think several people are going to cry today. The catering staff started arriving. Tiffany got distracted supervising the food. Susan gave me a signal with her head. It was now or never. I walked casually toward the table where the projector equipment was. There it was, a red USB drive connected to the computer. The laptop was open, showing a video file titled Tribute Barbara Final. I looked around. Tiffany was back turned, discussing the placement of the trays. The caterers were busy in the kitchen. Susan had positioned herself strategically blocking the view. I took a deep breath. I disconnected Tiffany's red drive. I put it in my purse. I took out our drive, identical in color and size. I connected it. My hands were shaking so much, I almost dropped it. But I succeeded. The switch was done. I walked back to my table, feeling my heart beating in my ears. Susan followed me seconds later and squeezed my hand under the table. It is done, she whispered. Now we just have to wait. At 6 o'clock, sharp guests began to arrive. Michael arrived among the first with Leo by the hand. My grandson ran toward me shouting, "Grandma," and I hugged him with all my strength. Michael kissed my forehead. "Happy birthday, Mom. You look incredible." "Thanks, son," I told him, looking him in the eyes, wondering if after tonight he would still see me the same. More people arrived. Relatives, neighbors, some friends of mine that Tiffany had invited to give credibility to her farce. Everyone hugged me, congratulated me, told me how good I looked. If they knew what was about to happen. The party went on like any normal celebration for the first hour. People ate, talked, laughed. Leo ran between the tables with other children that some relatives had brought. Michael was relaxed talking to his cousins about football. Tiffany floated through the room like the perfect hostess, making sure everyone had drinks, that the food flowed, that I was comfortable at my main table. Every time she passed by me, she touched my shoulder with fake affection. "You are enjoying yourself, Barbara. So good to see you so happy." In a while comes the surprise. I just nodded, feeling how the anticipation squeezed my chest like a tourniquet. Susan was sitting next to me, vigilant, ready to intervene if something went wrong. At 7:30, after everyone had eaten, Tiffany tapped her glass with a spoon. The metallic tinkling cut the conversations. Everyone turned toward her. Tiffany stood in the center of the room with the wireless microphone she had rented specifically for this moment. She was radiant, confident, completely convinced that the next few minutes would be her absolute triumph. "Good evening, everyone," she began with a clear and emotional voice. "Thank you for joining us on this very special day. Today we celebrate 65 years of life of an extraordinary woman. A woman who raised my husband alone after becoming a widow. A strong, hard-working, loving woman." Everyone applauded. I kept the frozen smile on my face. Michael looked at me with pride. He had no idea. Tiffany continued. "As many know, Barbara has been part of my life since Michael and I met. I have come to love her as if she were my own mother. That is why today I wanted to prepare something special, something to remind us all who Barbara really is. A video tribute with moments of her life, testimonials from people who know her, beautiful memories." She paused dramatically. "So, please, pay attention to the screen." The lights in the hall dimmed. Tiffany walked toward the computer connected to the projector with the remote in her hand. She signaled the sound guy. "All ready." She looked at me from the front. She blew me a kiss. I blew one back, knowing it would be the last kind thing that would pass between us. Tiffany pressed play. The screen lit up. And what appeared was not what she expected. The first seconds were confusion. Instead of the manipulated photos of my deterioration, a simple title appeared on a black background. "The Truth About Tiffany Castle." A message from Barbara. Tiffany frowned. "What is this?" she muttered, turning toward the computer. "This is not the right file." But it was too late. The video started playing, and there was no way to stop it without it being obvious. The first image that appeared on the screen was a screenshot of a WhatsApp chat. The group name was clearly visible. Besties. And Tiffany's message said verbatim, "The old hag is resisting, but she is about to fall. Michael is already convinced. Only the final push is missing." I heard gasps in the room. Tiffany paled instantly. "What? No, not this." She ran toward the computer, but Susan was already there, blocking her path discreetly. The video continued. More messages. Tiffany making fun of me, calling me a burden, saying she could not wait to have me out of my house, planning the remodeling in great detail while I supposedly would be locked in a nursing home. Michael stood up. "Mom, what is this?" His voice sounded confused, almost scared. I did not answer. I just pointed to the screen. "Look, son. Look at everything." The video changed. Now it showed screenshots of the online ad. My furniture, my oak table, my chairs, everything for sale for $3,500. The seller: Tiff Castle. Available for delivery in October, 2 weeks after my birthday, the exact date Tiffany had planned to commit me. Tiffany tried to turn off the projector, but the sound guy, confused by the chaos, did not react. "Turn it off!" she screamed at him. "Turn that off now." But her voice only managed to get everyone to pay more attention. The room was in complete silence, except for the audio of the video, which was now playing one of the voice messages Tiffany had sent to her friend Paula. Her own voice filled the room through the speakers. "You do not know how unbearable that woman is. Every time I go to her house, I have to endure her boring stories about my dead husband. As if I cared. But anyway, almost there. As soon as I lock her in that nursing home, the house is practically mine. Michael is never going to sell it because he has sentimental attachment, but I am going to convince him to remodel it. It is going to look incredible. And the best part is, he does not even suspect it was all my idea from the start." Michael was paralyzed. His face had gone from confusion to absolute horror. "Tiffany." His voice was barely a whisper. "What is this? Tell me this is not real." But the video had not finished. Now the photos appeared. Tiffany with her lover, kissing, hugging, in situations that left no room for doubt. The dates were clearly visible on every image. 6 months ago, 4 months ago, 2 months ago. A constant and calculated betrayal. Someone in the room let out a stifled scream. Tiffany turned toward the audience with eyes full of tears. "No, you do not understand. This is taken out of context. Someone edited this. Someone hacked my phone. Barbara is behind this. She is the one manipulating everything." I stood up slowly. All eyes turned toward me. "I am manipulating," I asked with a calm but firm voice. "I am the one who has been lying for years. I am the one who planned to lock someone in a nursing home to steal their house. I am the one who sold furniture that does not belong to me. I am the one who was unfaithful to my husband." The video continued relentless. Now it showed the bank statements. The constant transfers to Tiffany's secret account, $22,000 diverted over 2 years, and then the part that would destroy Michael completely. The messages where Tiffany admitted that Michael gave her $1,000 monthly for me, but she only transferred $500, keeping the rest. $12,000 stolen from money my son gave me with love. Michael approached Tiffany with slow steps. His hands were shaking. His voice was barely audible. "You told me Mom needed $1,000 a month. You told me you gave it to her because it was easier. You lied to me. You stole from me. You stole from both of us." Tiffany tried to touch him, but he pulled away as if she burned. "No, Michael. Listen to me. Let me explain. Things are not how they look." But Michael was no longer listening to her. He was looking at the screen where the original video Tiffany had prepared was now appearing. The cruel and manipulated montage of clips where I supposedly looked senile and confused. The fake doctor's office. Her words speaking of love while planning my destruction. The video ended with a final message on screen. "All the above is real. Everything was found on Tiffany Castle's phone and accounts. She planned to show you a fake video to convince you that I needed to be committed. Instead, I show you the truth. Signed, Barbara." The lights in the hall came on. The silence was absolute and heavy. Tiffany was standing trembling with mascara running down her cheeks. She tried one last time. "This is illegal. She violated my privacy. She hacked my phone. I can sue her." I approached her slowly. We stood face to face. "Go ahead, Tiffany," I said with a serene voice. "Sue me. Call the police. Explain to them how I got this information while showing them proof of your plans for fraud, theft, and defamation. Let's see who ends up in more trouble." Tiffany opened her mouth, but no word came out. For the first time since I knew her, she was completely out of arguments, without fake smiles, without manipulative explanations. Only raw panic remained in her eyes as she watched her perfectly built world crumble in front of dozens of witnesses. Michael had slumped into a chair with his head in his hands. Leo, confused by the tension, approached his father. "Daddy, what is wrong? Why is everyone quiet?" Michael looked up at his son, and I could see the exact moment his heart broke. The moment he understood his marriage was a lie, that the woman he had trusted blindly was a stranger, that he had chosen to believe her instead of his own mother. One of Michael's cousins was the first to break the silence. "Brother, this is real. You need to get this woman out of your life right now." Other relatives began to murmur. The looks toward Tiffany were pure disgust. One of my friends, Mrs. Emerald, who knew my family for 30 years, approached me and hugged me tight. "Barbara," she whispered, "how long were you enduring this alone?" Tiffany tried to regain control with desperation. She wiped her tears brusquely and raised her voice. "All of you are hypocrites. Yes, I said ugly things. Yes, I vented with my friends. But everyone does it. Everyone talks bad about their mother-in-law. That means nothing." I was stressed. Barbara pressured me constantly. "You do not know what it is like living with her demands, her calls, her need for attention." I laughed. It was a short, dry laugh, without humor. "My demands, Tiffany. My calls. You were the one showing up at my house unannounced. You were the one insisting on organizing this party. I just wanted to live in peace in my own house. The house you were already selling for parts before I even left." "But the money," someone shouted from the back. "How do you explain stealing money from your husband? Stealing from Barbara?" Tiffany turned toward that direction. "I did not steal anything. Michael gave me that money voluntarily. What I did with it was my decision. We were a married couple. The money belonged to both of us." Michael raised his head slowly. His voice when he spoke was unrecognizable. Cold. Dead. "I gave you that money specifically for my mother. I entrusted it to you because I thought you took care of her, that we loved her together, and you took it as if it were yours, as if I were so stupid I would not notice." He paused. "During how much time, Tiffany? How long did you plan to keep lying?" Tiffany tried to approach him. "Michael, my love, we can talk about this at home. In private. Not in front of all these people. Please." Michael stood up and took a step back. "Do not touch me. Do not ever touch me again in your life." "Tiffany," her name on his lips sounded like a curse. "I want you to leave my house. Tonight. Pack your things and go." Tiffany's tears were real now. "No, Michael. Think about Leo. Think about our family. We can go to therapy. I can change." It was a mistake. It was all a mistake. But Michael had already taken Leo by the hand. "Let's go, son. We are leaving." The boy looked at his mother with confusion, but followed Michael toward the exit. Tiffany ran after them. "Michael, please, do not do this to me. Give me a chance." But my son did not even turn around. He left the hall with Leo, leaving Tiffany standing at the door screaming his name. Her crying was heartbreaking, but I did not feel an ounce of pity. I had cried for years in silence while she destroyed me systematically. Now, it was her turn to feel pain. The guests began to leave. Some approached to say goodbye to me with uncomfortable hugs. Others simply slipped away without making eye contact. The party had ended in the most spectacular way possible. The hall Tiffany had decorated so perfectly now looked like the scene of an emotional crime. Susan approached and touched my arm. "Let's go, Barbara. It is over." But I shook my head. Not yet. I approached Tiffany, who was now sitting on the floor by the door, sobbing. I knelt to her level. She looked up. Her eyes were swollen, red, destroyed. "Why, Barbara?" she whispered. "Why did you do this to me?" I looked at her directly without blinking. "Why did you plan to lock me in a nursing home to steal my house? Why did you steal money from me? Why did you lie to my son for years? Why did you make me feel like I was crazy when I knew something was not right? Why did you try to destroy me and almost succeeded?" I paused. "I did not do this to you, Tiffany. You did it to yourself." I stood up and left the hall with Susan. The fresh night air hit my face. I breathed deep. I was shaking. Not from fear, not from sadness, from relief, from liberation, from the intoxicating feeling of having fought and won. That night I slept at Susan's house. I did not want to be alone. Not yet. We sat in her living room drinking tea until past midnight, talking about everything that had happened. "You did the right thing," Susan repeated to me over and over. That woman did not deserve mercy. At 2 in the morning my phone rang. It was Michael. I answered with my heart racing. "Mom." His voice sounded broken, shattered. "I am at a hotel with Leo. I could not be in that house. Everything reminds me of her. Of the lies. Of my own stupidity." He broke down. I heard sobs on the other end. "I am sorry, Mom. God, I am so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have listened to you. I am the worst son in the world." "No, son," I told him with a soft voice. "You are not the worst son. You are a son who was deceived by someone who knew exactly how to manipulate you. Tiffany is good at what she does. Too good. But now you know the truth, and that is what matters." Michael breathed deep, trying to calm down. "Tomorrow I am going to talk to a lawyer. I am going to start the divorce. I am going to make sure she does not keep anything. And Mom," he made a long pause, "I need you to know I am never going to doubt you again. Never. I love you, and I regret having failed you when you needed me most." "I love you too, son," I replied, feeling my own tears finally fall. "And you did not fail me. You just got lost for a while. But now you are back." We hung up and I stood looking at the phone in my hands. Susan passed me a tissue. "It is ending well," she told me. "You are going to get your son back. You are going to stay in your house. And Tiffany is going to pay for everything." I nodded, drying my tears. Yes, it is ending exactly how it was supposed to end. The following days were a whirlwind. Michael indeed hired a lawyer. Tiffany tried to fight, but the evidence was overwhelming. The video Kevin had compiled was presented as evidence. The messages, the photos, the bank statements. Everything. Michael's lawyer explained to her that he could accuse her not only of infidelity, but of fraud and misappropriation. Tiffany had no defense. In the end, she accepted a deal. She would leave without fighting, shared custody of Leo. She would return the stolen money in monthly payments. And she would never come near me again. She signed everything crying, but she signed. 3 weeks after the day of my birthday, Tiffany left my family's life forever. Michael moved temporarily with me with Leo while processing everything. Seeing him eat breakfast in my kitchen again, hearing my grandson's laughter filling the house, feeling that my family was healing, all that was worth every moment of fear and pain. 6 months passed since that night. 6 months in which my life rebuilt itself in ways I never imagined possible. Michael and Leo lived with me for the first 3 months. It was strange at first, having the house full of life again, after so many years of solitude. Strange, but wonderful. We ate breakfast together every morning. I took Leo to school while Michael worked. At night we cooked between the 3 of us, and Leo told me about his day with that infinite energy children have. Michael changed. He became more present, more attentive, more aware. One afternoon, while we were washing dishes together, he told me something I will never forget. "Mom, I spent so many years believing I was building a perfect family that I did not realize I was destroying the only real family I had. You. It was always you." I squeezed his hand without saying anything because there were no words necessary. He already knew. Tiffany tried to contact him several times at first. Long messages asking for forgiveness. Calls that Michael rejected without even looking who it was. Flowers sent to the office that ended up in the trash. Until finally she understood there was no turning back. The divorce papers were signed 4 months after the party. Michael was free. Leo saw his mother every 2 weeks in supervised visits that Tiffany hated, but a judge had ordered after reviewing all the evidence. Full custody was Michael's. The stolen money began to arrive in monthly payments as agreed. $500 appearing punctually in my account on the first day of every month. Michael insisted that money was mine, to use it however I wanted. I saved it. I did not need it. My pension was enough. That money represented something else. It represented justice. It represented that actions have consequences. One afternoon I received a call from an unknown number. I hesitated to answer, but something made me press the green button. It was one of the friends who had been at the party. Her name was Letitia, and she was a distant cousin of Michael. "Barbara," she said with a timid voice, "I know maybe you do not want to talk to me, but I needed to call you. I needed to tell you that I admire what you did. that I wish I had had your courage when my ex-sister-in-law did something similar to me. I stayed quiet, letting her continue. The whole family is commenting on what happened, and everyone is on your side. Everyone says you are the strongest woman they know. That Tiffany got exactly what she deserved. I thanked her for the call. After hanging up, I sat on the sofa, the same sofa Tiffany had criticized so many times, and allowed myself to feel pride, real pride. Not for having destroyed someone, but for having defended myself. For not having let myself become a victim. For having fought when it would have been easier to give up. Michael finally found a nice apartment near my house. He moved 3 months ago, but comes to visit me almost every day. Sometimes, just to drink coffee. Sometimes, so I watch Leo while he runs errands. Sometimes simply because he wants to be close. Our relationship now is different. More honest. More real. There are no longer secrets. There is no longer a third person poisoning everything with lies. Susan continues being my best friend, and now also my personal heroine. Without her, none of this would have been possible. We celebrate every small victory together. Every payment that arrives from Tiffany. Every quiet afternoon in my house, knowing it is mine and will continue being mine. Kevin came to dinner a few weeks ago. I thanked him again for everything he did. He laughed. "Mrs. Barbara," he told me, "it was a pleasure helping someone who really deserved it. Besides, that video turned out technically perfect. I should put it in my portfolio." We all laughed, although we knew it was a joke. Megan also became a friend. She comes every so often to drink tea and tells me stories of her editing jobs. She confessed to me that after helping me with my case, 3 more women contacted her asking for help with similar situations. Apparently, there are many Tiffany's in the world. And more Barbaras willing to stand up. My house remains exactly the same. The same furniture Tiffany wanted to sell. The same photos she wanted to take. The same memories she tried to erase. But now when I walk through these rooms, I feel something different. Before I felt nostalgia mixed with fear of losing it all. Now I feel peace. Peace knowing I fought for what was mine. That I won. That no one can take this away from me. Leo asked me recently why he did not see his mom so much anymore. It is a difficult question to answer an 8-year-old child. I told him that sometimes adults make big mistakes. That his mom had done things that hurt a lot of people. That his dad had decided it was better this way. He thought about it a moment and then said something that broke and healed my heart at the same time. "It is okay, Grandma. As long as I have you and Daddy, I am going to be okay." I hugged him so tight he complained, laughing. 2 weeks ago I saw Tiffany. It was completely by accident at the grocery store. I was in the produce aisle when I saw her turn the corner with a cart. Our eyes met. She froze. So did I. For a moment, neither of us knew what to do. Then she simply turned around and went down another aisle. There were no words. There was no confrontation. Just 2 women who were once at war and now simply existed in separate worlds. I realized as I watched her walk away that I no longer felt rage toward her. Not even satisfaction for her fall. Just indifference. Tiffany no longer had power over me. She no longer occupied space in my thoughts. She had become what she always should have been. A stranger. Someone who passed through my life, caused damage, and then left. Nothing more. I saw her leave the grocery store from the window while paying for my groceries. She got into a small car that was definitely not the one she drove when she was with Michael. Her clothes were simple, nothing of the luxurious style she used to wear. I wondered if the man I had seen her with in the photos remained by her side, or if he had also abandoned her when she stopped having access to my son's money. I did not care enough to find out. Yesterday was my birthday again. 66 years. Michael organized a small lunch at my house. Just the 3 of us. Susan, Kevin, Megan, Mrs. Emerald, and some close neighbors. Nothing elaborate. Nothing with a projector. Just homemade food, genuine laughter, and people who really love me. Michael gave me a new photo album with space for all the memories we will keep creating. Leo made me a card by hand with a drawing of the 2 of us holding hands. I stuck it on the refrigerator where I see it every morning. During the meal, Susan proposed a toast. "To Barbara," she said, raising her glass. "To the woman who taught us that it is never too late to defend yourself, that age does not define strength, and that sometimes the best revenge is not hurting who hurt you, but simply showing everyone who they really are." Everyone toasted. I felt tears in my eyes, but this time they were good tears. Michael approached afterward and spoke to me in a low voice. "Mom, there is something I need to tell you. I have been going to therapy. I realized Tiffany was able to manipulate me so easily because I had issues I had not worked on. Fear of disappointing, need for approval, things that come from long before meeting her." He paused. "The therapist helped me understand that I did not only fail you, I failed myself. But I am going to work on that. I am going to be better. For me, for Leo, for you." I hugged him, feeling pride expand in my chest. That was my son, not the man Tiffany had molded, but the man I had raised, the man who could recognize his mistakes and work to be better. "I am proud of you," I whispered. "I always have been." When everyone left and the house fell silent, I sat on my sofa with a cup of hot tea. I looked around, my living room, my kitchen, my walls full of memories, my life, still mine, always mine. I thought about the whole journey traveled, about the Barbara who a year ago sat in this same place feeling small, scared, cornered, about how that woman found strength where she thought there was none. I regret nothing. Not having investigated, not having changed that video, not having exposed Tiffany in front of everyone. Some people will say I was cruel, that I could have handled things in a more private way. But those people do not understand. They do not understand what it is to be systematically destroyed in silence, what it is to watch someone build your prison brick by brick while everyone smiles and applauds. Tiffany left me no choice. She chose war. I just chose to win. My phone vibrated with a text. It was Michael. "Thanks for today, Mom. Thanks for still being here. For not giving up. For teaching me what it really means to be strong. I love you more than words can express." I smiled, typing my reply. "I love you too, son. Always." I got up and walked through the house, turning off the lights one by one. Every room held stories, some painful, some beautiful, all mine. In the hallway, I stopped in front of a photo of my husband and me the day we bought this house. We were so young, so full of plans and dreams. I touched the frame tenderly. "We did it, love," I whispered to the photo. "I defended our home. I defended our family. I know you would be proud." I went up the stairs toward my bedroom. Each step felt lighter than the last. I no longer carried the weight of Tiffany's lies. I no longer carried the fear of losing everything. I no longer carried the guilt of feeling that maybe I had done something wrong to deserve her cruelty. Now I only carried the certainty of having done the right thing, of having fought, of having won. I lay down looking at the ceiling, and for the first time in years, I did not feel worry for the future. I did not feel fear of what would come. I just felt gratitude for being exactly where I was, in my bed, in my house, surrounded by the love of my real family. I closed my eyes, and right before falling asleep, I thought about all the women who are going through what I went through, the ones who are being manipulated, minimized, prepared to be discarded. And I wish that they find their own strength, that they find their own Susan, their own Kevin, that they find the courage to say enough, because no one deserves to be treated the way I was treated, and no one has to accept it in silence. I fell asleep in peace, in my bed, in my house, surrounded by my memories, victorious, free, and completely, absolutely, in control of my own life, exactly as it should have